talk fewer into the microphone, but
yeah, that's my rule. Yeah.
Okay, we are live. I've had a crazy morning. I will go work on my audio, and you guys can get started while I get my life together. Hopefully it'll be less than 5 minutes.
All right.
Okay.
Nothing else, you can start by giving Tom up to speed on your latest blog post.
Oh, so you want me to talk to Tom about the blog post?
Okay, I did read everything you have sent me.
Oh, okay.
And I commented on it as I put a comment in the blog post.
Oh, you did?
To approval.
Oh, I haven't checked that.
Okay, yeah. Well, you should find it there. I can tell you roughly what it said too, but I did put it in and it just said subject to approval or something. It's like yesterday.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking for it.
So Ernie had one reply and I had the second one.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry, I need to.
So this is my Portuguese Mateus Rosé wine. And you know why I drink Mateus Rosé wine? This is like dad joke. It's because my grandson's called Mateus.
Yeah, it's really hard to understand what you're saying, Tom.
Oh, so I go get my microphone.
Okay.
Yes, go get microphone.
I think so. Yes, please.
Okay, we'll be there. Right back.
Okay.
So we just needed a better microphone for me. Ja, dan tok jij van haar kindin.
Hello.
Hi.
Coming back.
Can you hear me okay, or is the audio still wonky?
Yeah, Ernie, you sound really good.
All right. We lost Tom there. All right.
Yep, here he is. It's coming in. I went to go get my microphone. I've never had complaints about my audio, but I've got them now.
Yeah, it normally sounds great, but today it's like,
Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3.
You sound good, Ernie.
Do I sound better?
Okay. You sound a little muffled. I don't know why.
Is that me or Tom?
No, Ernest sounds fine to me. Tom sounds a little muffled still.
Yeah, that's
okay. Yeah, my first network come up my approach as good as it gets. And I'm gonna check my speed, which I suspect is okay, but it's not the highest in the world. Download's good, so the upload probably is okay too. So I think this is as good as yeah, it's a little bit low, 3 megabytes per second upload. But that's the usual, so here, I don't have that. I don't think that's something else, like Zoom is a bit bad boy.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay. But it's easy. I'll just shut up and listen.
Anyway, congratulations on Ernest getting some blog posts out. I think, did you have 2 or 3 blog posts this last month?
Yeah, but the main one is the last one, the one that I posted and have been updating in the past couple of days.
So is this the same one, or is there a new one?
No, well, if you know, it's just one. You know, if you have the link, then that's it.
Well, this is a blog, right? So there's, I guess, HumanNet. Is that the
HumanNet? Yes.
Is that different than Homo Digitus, or is that the same? Okay, here
Oh
we go.
no, yeah. Well, it's a couple of concepts. You want me to go through it?
Yeah, let's go for it.
So, well, first, the thought process is that you know, I'm still focused on humankind, the idealistic side of it, you know, with the all kinds of humanistic and other kinds of principles, you know, being just and equal and all those things. On the other side is the practical stuff. You know, you have different kinds of societies, and you want people to communicate, right? So this is like a new way to. The whole premise is that we need a new way to communicate and share information and collaborate. Because, in my opinion, what we have right now, the internet is just not it. Because essentially, people do not own the internet. It's companies. It's these communications companies and social networks, Facebook, you know, manufacturers, Intel. So all these people have a bite of the internet, right? What we call the internet. So you have to pay them to get in on it, but then you also get their side of, when it comes to information, you get all kinds of ads that you don't want. You know, I have my iPad and I'm paying for the my connection to the internet, but yet I'm getting these ads that I hate, and I have no option in, you know, I have to see them. And I don't like that. Why am I paying for the bandwidth required to transmit those ads and the space on my display and then my annoyance? I do not like that. So I don't, you know, if I have, let's say us three, if we are talking or communicating, and if we can develop our own system of communication, we wouldn't have ads. We wouldn't need ads, right? So,
let me push you a little bit here, if I may.
Go ahead.
Because technically, if you're talking about the internet itself, the internet doesn't know about ads, right? The internet defined as DNS plus TCP/IP. Right, there are no ads required to send datagrams across the internet at the IP layer.
Mm-hmm.
I think what's an important thing is that the platforms that dominate the internet are precisely the ones that have all these really anti-human behaviors.
Yes, correct.
Right, I think what you're I think what you're actually arguing for is a better platform, or a more, you know, cooperatively owned platform for facilitating meaningful interactions over the internet. Is that a fair statement? Yeah.
Yes, both. But we need a new base, like the internet itself. Yeah. So there are two things.
I don't think you have a problem with IPv6, right? It's really all the other protocols on top of it.
Well,
the web, yes, sort of like, web, right?
Yeah. So yeah, IPv6, all those things is not terrible, but we need something on top of it that provides capabilities that, you know, that help us to really manage identity, to really manage history and all those things. So we need like a new layer for what I call here the Homo Digitus. What is it? Homo Dominus Digitus. So I did some searching on Google, and yeah, I found this term Homo Digitus. I started using Homo Digitus, but then I'm like, has it been used before? And I saw that it was. So, but this they are describing essentially us, like right now. There's Homo sapiens sapiens, but then now that we have these digital environments, some people from like 10 years ago started calling us Homo Digitus or Homo Digitalis. So essentially, it's like us extended by the internet, by this new data oriented world. But in this world, I have no real control over my personal data. Like I said, I have no control over what entities get into my life. Because, like, yes, my choice of platforms influences that. So I use YouTube to watch videos. YouTube, publishes ads alongside the videos that I watch. And some of those ads are really, I find abhorrent. So, but I have no choice. Either I have to pay Google for the service so that they remove the ads, or I don't use YouTube. That's my choice. I cannot tell YouTube to, hey, actually, I keep telling YouTube, I do not like this ad. I find this ad offensive, and please take it out. And it takes it out, but the next minute it reappears. So even though companies say that, yeah, you can define your digital world, you have all the power, that is not true, because this is just lip service. So you go to a new website and you get this annoying dialogue that says, hey, we have cookies and you have to accept it, blah, blah, blah. And every single new website that you go to, you get that. And that's by law, I think that's but it is annoying. So just like, let's say you have your phone, you have your settings app that you can configure, okay, on this phone, these things happen. We should have the same thing for your entire digital experience. So you said, hey, when it comes to cookies or whatever, these are my preferences, and that's it. Every single site that I go to should pick that up. That's just a little sample of having real control.
Okay, let me ask, I have a question about that, but I'll hold it until you finish. Okay.
Okay, so finishing up the Homo Dominus Digitus is the us of the future, the human beings that really are have real control over their digital life and complete, from personal data to who can contact you, to who are your connections at all levels, from yourself, your partners, your groups, and other communities that you get together with because you have shared purpose and a shared goal. That's why you form communities, and that's how you work together. But at the bottom layer, you still need to communicate with other societies. So I'm thinking of humankind, but there will be other societies that don't have the same principles, but we still should be able to communicate. We all live on this earth. We all have a rule by the laws of physics, right? So there's people over there in Ukraine fighting with the Russians. They hate each other, but they operate on gravity and on time and on a trajectory of ballistic missiles. So even though they are destroying each other, they have no choice but to live by the rules of physics. So in the same way, in the digital world, we have no choice but to communicate with all kinds of people that we might not like, whose views we might not agree with, but we're still human beings, and we still have to work together sometimes to solve problems or address issues. So this is the layer that I think everybody should share, and I'm calling it human net, like short for the human network. So, and this is where we abstract or put all the general things that we're thinking about, like managing and these are the 10 aims that Ernest and I came up with in the past month. And that still hasn't changed. As a matter of fact, instead of all those things applying to humankind, now we can talk about just the mechanism being HumaneNet, on which humankind will be based, but we can, the language that we come up with, we can share with other people that might not be into humankind, but who might be interested in operated on the RISC-V. So I think we all know what RISC-V is. So it's
an instruction set architecture, right? For how processing, right? So that's an example of a technology that you could see as a generic basis of a generic human-net platform.
Exactly, like we used to have, or there are other ones. There are x86 and ARM and all those things. But companies, including the big companies, including Apple, including Intel, they are moving to RISC-V. Why? Because it's open source, everybody can share it. So all the costs inherent in working on this architecture are shared by, they're shared by everyone because it's open source. You don't have to pay a license to ARM or to any other companies to use it. So everybody, even though they're competing, they are cooperating on this microprocessor architecture so that they can use their money in some other ways, to innovate in some other ways. So they forget about the microprocessor architecture, and then they think about, wireless or other things related to processing, such as encryption or whatever. So they can focus on other things that to differentiate themselves from other companies. So that's the thing. On one side, I'm in the idealistic, pure humankind thing, but on the other side, I'm in the, hey, let's focus on the general.
Right, and that the traditional definition of this is mechanism versus policy. We have a common definition of mechanisms for the things we can specify, and then each community can define its own policy for like which things are mandatory, which things are optional, how you specify them, et cetera.
Yes.
All right, Tom, thank you for being patient.
Actually, there's a thing called recognized hand gestures, and I hadn't seen it before, so I wanted to try it out.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But I do have a question. I put a link in there, HTTPS. So, Ernest, are you familiar with Web 3.0?
Well, I know that it's a term that people are using, that people, it's like a colloquial, term that, of the times to for people to differentiate. Okay, Web 1 is this thing, websites. Web 2 is social networks. Web 3 is the new thing, whatever it is. Some people say the metaverse. Some people say, people being more in control. So yes, I have an idea. I can't tell you what it is, but I can tell you that I know that people are using that term to mean whatever is next.
Well, I think I'll be a little bit more generous than that. Yeah. Right. Metaverse, I agree, has become insanely polarized and fragmented. But I do feel like Web 3, as I've heard it used fairly consistently, is like when Web 1 was anarchy, Web 2 was centralized, user-generated content type systems, and then Web 3 is this decentralization of that. I don't know if that's where you're coming from with it, Tom, but I think that's what.
Well, it's in this thing you've got up there. You can, if you scroll to Web 3, I think you'll find some interesting things that Bruce is talking about. Even scroll a little bit more with some headlines there. Okay, but I believe it. By the way, this is a formal standard which is being implemented. It's not some.
Wait, say formal standard?
Yes.
I have not heard it. Sorry, when you say, who's defining it? It says there is no standard definition of Web 3.
Okay. If you look, it goes under the name Solid. And if you look under Solid, you'll find Tim Berners-Lee driving the definition of solid. By the way, this is very real. It's in real products that I'm involved with right now. There's no wishy-washy about it. But I think it does contain some of the things that Ernest is interested in. That's why I'm bringing it up.
I've heard about that, yes. And I'm like, okay, that's
Okay.
great.
Solid is a implementation from Tim Berners-Lee.
Mhm.
Right.
You know, I don't know if I call that a standard yet, but okay.
Well, it's not an ISO standard, but it's a standard which is it's being implemented for real many places, but it is still evolving, and it's not pinned down by the International Standards Organization or ISO.
Well, but I mean, I like forget whether it's official standard yet. I've heard the phrase style kid around, but I can't even find a good link of what it actually is. I keep getting this weird error when I try to.
Okay.
Do I trust it? Can you give me a link to actual? I cannot get a link to Solid that my browser will trust. Can you find a link for me?
Yeah, I can. I've got Solid Wikipedia for starters, so that should give us everything we need. Just a moment, I'll put it in the link in the chat.
That's different, isn't it? That's not Tim Berners-Lee
Yes.
Solid, is it?
Yes, it is. Well, I think so.
No, Solid here is object-oriented design. That's probably not what you were talking about. That's different than Tim Berners-Lee's Solid.
Well, I didn't know there were. By the way,
There are two completely different things.
Once a month, I attend a 1-hour meeting with Tim Berners-Lee on the implementations of Solid that are going on right now, which includes products that I have invested in and my son is managing. So I have more than a superficial knowledge about this.
Right. I just need a link to it because here's maybe this
I
is
gave
better.
You one. Okay.
Yeah. That one, like I said, the one you gave me goes to a website that my browser refuses to trust.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
So
I think I'm at this. Well, I'm in a site called Solid. I don't know if it's the one that you're talking about. It says Solid is an exciting new project by Professor Tim Berners-Lee, inventor of the World Wide Web.
Oh, did you paste the link in?
Oh, you want
a link? Yeah, that's different than Solid and object-oriented design. That is not
okay,
Tim. This is not Tim Berners-Lee.
Sorry,
this is Solid.
I did that. Trying to be very quick.
So you find your link, Ernest?
Yeah, but Solid that's the correct link that I'm referring to anyway.
I'm using.
So there's two different things then. This is not Tim Berners-Lee. This has been around since 2004.
Oh, sorry. Accidentally, something wrong I did here. Forget it. Robert C. Martin.
What happened?
Okay.
Am I still in the meeting?
I gave you a bad link.
Oh, there.
Yeah, Solid could be a lot.
That's the one that I'm.
Here, web decentralization project. There we go. That's probably the one you wanted.
Yeah,
okay.
I got the wrong one.
Okay.
Now, if we look at the links, there may be or may not be a reference to a standard, but I don't think that matters.
Yeah. Okay. So it does talk about a connection of standards here with a link to something.
Which number was that?
Which is oddly enough not even okay, maybe there is a thing there in GitHub. Components. So there's some standards, but no link there. REST APIs.
Okay.
Okay. No, here is a. Okay.
That's it. That's the one.
Boy, for a web standard, they're really hard to find on the web.
Okay.
Okay, now we're finally getting somewhere.
Good.
Okay, now maybe I've heard about this in terms of, have you been using the word pod, Ernest?
Yes.
Maybe there's more. Okay, now it looks like a standard.
A protocol. 0.9, 2000 and what is that?
Okay, here we go. Equitable, informed, and interconnected society.
Hey, that sounds like my friend Ernest.
This actually sounds very Ernest.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up.
Okay, good. Yes, just took us a while to find the relevant reference there. Okay, so that's actually encouraging, right? I think the main difference from just this very naive thing here is that he's talking about individuals, Tim's talking about individuals, where I hear Ernest talking about communities, right? Where communities can maintain their autonomy, control their data, and choose services to fulfill their needs.
But I'm actually start from the individual, and then from the individual, you form communities by sharing principles. It's not just forward.
No, I understand. But this is really profound because the way that I understand the internet having gone wrong, my narrative of it, is that the internet originally had a very libertarian, let everyone do what they want, and of course all the right things will happen. But as with most libertarian societies, what happens is those who are rich and powerful end up getting more rich and powerful, and there's no countervailing forces to keep, Thomas Jefferson from raping his slaves, right?
Exactly.
And so the idea of actually trading, is actually, there is no good way to form ad hoc groups and communities on the internet, and therefore these big centralized platforms like Facebook or Google became the only viable way to create communities at scale, which sucked. And so what I really loved about Ernest's vision is, hey, let's give communities the tools so that individuals can make informed choices how to get in and out and fork their own communities if the existing communities aren't functioning well, without having to be beholden to a centralized platform. And I think that's an interesting question for me, is whether the solid principles are robust enough to allow that kind of organic community formation. They do seem to have at least some concept of a social entity, which is encouraging, but I don't know. So I guess that's a really interesting exercise for someone to do at some point, is to actually look and see, if solid is solid enough for the problems we care about. But this is a great find. Thank you, Tom.
Right. By the way, can I use a very few minutes to brief you on my personal involvement with this?
Please.
Okay. So if you look at the link, I think I put in there.
The Investopedia one, or?
No, sorry, I was more mental than, okay, let me put a link in there, which you can use. So it's graphmetrics.com. You can go there. Okay. Now, Graphmetrics is a company formed by a guy in San Francisco who you could meet someday. And he read my book, Competitive Engineering, a few years ago. He claims to have read my book 10 times. Now, if you've seen the 500-page book with 10 ideas per page, you wonder, is he just bragging? Or
does he need to get a life?
Yeah. Well, my book is written so badly, you have to read it 10 times to understand what it says, right? Anyway, his name is Frederick Gibson. You'll find him floating around. And Fred is an architect, and he used to be with one of the very large building companies, whatever it was. They have 1,500 building projects going on at once. And he had a $60 million a year budget to develop advanced technology for a few years. And he developed these ideas, but long story short, he jumped ship, formed his own company, and with the head start he had, he's building a next generation artificial intelligence system, right? Called Graphmetrics, we call that. And it is using Solid at the base. It's probably the most advanced app, which is a real app, which is really using Solid. All the other ones are very, very much more primitive stages. This is on the air working kind of situation.
So does he have a beta, a commercial product? What's the status of what he's building?
Yeah, you can go try it out right now. It is in trials with some of the largest building companies in the world who are putting 35,000 engineering drawings into it and generating huge databases. Okay, but now the point is, by the way, the several interesting things about it. One is that it's using solid, okay? And these guys are very much in our court here with protection of private data and ownership of private data. Okay, you'll find that all over the place here. They talk about it on the graph census site. So it's a good start. But the interesting thing I think here is that Fred has tried to go to an artificial intelligence, which is it's called artificial general intelligence in the literature. And what it means is you don't train the machine with 30,000 monkeys. It thinks like a human, reasons like a human, and learns like a human. Okay, and this thing works right now on the applications it's initially designed for, which are initially in the building trade. Okay, call it engineering drawings of anything and everything. But in fact, go a little bit deeper, it's suitable for absolute anything the databases can be used for. No exceptions. It's just it becomes a new way of organizing and accessing data more intelligently. Okay, so it's interesting from the point of view, it claims to be artificial general intelligence, and practically nobody is there. Okay.
I mean, there's a difference between unsupervised learning and general intelligence.
Okay, let's not go there right now. Let's just say
Okay.
It's not learning by showing people 30,000 monkeys and getting it to that by a monkey. It's not pattern recognition. It's not big data. It is a simulation of the way in which people learn. And that is unique and it's very advanced. By the way, you can go and get yourself a free account to play with it yourself at this moment. Okay. So, so I'm mainly bringing it up because its root is using the solid base. And my son is the co-founder of the company. You'll find he's making this website, for example. So he's sort of doing the business end of it, and Fred's doing all the programming in, would you believe it, Lisp. You catch that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, I have just, now that we introduced the AI thing, well, have you, the thing of the famous AI thing right now is ChatGPT. I haven't. Have you heard of ChatGPT? This is Elon Musk.
I played with it a little bit.
I haven't. So what?
Okay, I have not played with it, but I know exactly what you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's just say this is different.
It's different.
Yeah, it's not anywhere in the.
In terms of just so I understand what your claim is, the only thing they seem to talk about here in this artificial intelligence is one, the sort of the conceptual simulation piece of creating a digital twin, and the other seems to be around intelligence. Like, where is he advertising something that is based on what you're calling artificial intelligence?
Right. I'm not sure it's on the website.
Okay.
But if somebody got terribly interested, we can supply it. I promise you, Fred believes he's cracked artificial intelligence problems that nobody else has cracked.
I believe you when you say he believes that.
Right.
It would be very interesting to see something concrete that we could evaluate.
Well,
would it be worth inviting him to present?
No, not now.
Okay.
I'm very careful of his time because he's the critical bottleneck in getting this thing totally ready for getting money in. We're right there at the point where very big businesses are evaluating it on the major building projects. But nobody's.
Okay, I guess this is the one AI thing he claims on the website then. This AI agent Trinity that transfers PDFs.
Yeah. It's a little bit vague there. They're focusing on their initial market that Fred Gibson has always worked within, and that is the building trade, where you've got this huge amount of building information that nobody can tie together.
By the way, I will say this is interesting because this actually starts to sound a bit like Ernest's smart documents.
Yes,
right?
is.
It takes
Exactly.
you remember that, Ernest?
By the way,
Yes.
I've got an example I'll give you. So, their nearest competitors, by the way, Oracle is one of the users, and Oracle tried to buy this company at one point. We'll get back to that later if you want to. But the nearest competitors, they take their PDFs, their blueprints for buildings, and they read them into a computer, and then for each blueprint, of which they may have 35,000 for one building, requires 800 hours each blueprint of human effort to tell the computer what those things are on the PDF blueprint. Now, this thing is so artificially intelligent that it manages to avoid that cost totally, and it can interpret even ancient drawings from the 1930s and understand every part, every supplier, everything. Okay, it saves 800 hours per drawing because it is so artificially intelligent. Nobody has anything vaguely resembling it.
Yeah. So I'll be willing. I mean, AGI is a very loaded term. I won't go there, but I think what I'm hearing you say that I think is intriguing, right, is that it's not just pattern recognition. It's more like object recognition, in the sense that, like, it's you know, I think that is definitely a meaningful step forward. You know, as a interesting idea. I don't want to get too far off the thread.
I'm done, and you're now aware that I'm involved, and I can, as things progress, I can talk to you. The building companies that are looking at it are terribly excited. For them, it's a major breakthrough.
Oh yeah,
on how to handle buildings.
And I think that the ability to generate structured information from unstructured text or drawings is very powerful. And I think this is a good segue back to the point, because I think that in terms of technologies, I don't think you've mentioned artificial intelligence anywhere in anything you've posted. And I'm actually very curious to hear from Ernest. Have you thought about where AI and related technologies fit into your vision of human flourishing?
Yes, and that well, it will be distributed. It has to be distributed in HumanNet, and then whatever components you put on top of it. You know, there has to be this big language component, and this is where we talk about well, language, like how that's where a culture is based on. That's what you use to define your principles and your purpose. You use language, and whatever we use to process this language is artificial intelligence. It has to have. I don't see this as a, you know, the big chat GPT thing, or a big, oh, this is so, you know, artificial intelligence. It should just be. It should just be. It should just, oh yeah, I wanna my agent, whatever software agent, please do call whatever, or do an appointment, you know, like Siri, but something that you feel that is not Apple's, is not Google's, it's just you. It's you have a device and you tell it, you communicate with your software agent, which is, you know, people talk about the network is the computer, or compute everywhere. That's part of the thing. Like, you have a phone, then you go to your laptop, your intelligent agent is with you all the time. So this and I also talk about your digital world being an extension of your mind. So right now we are almost cybernetic, because, you know, we have laptops, we have your phone all the time, you have your watch, your smartwatches. So we still don't have the direct connection to the brain, but we are essentially cybernetic in that, you know, the digital is present in our everyday lives, and the whatever a smarts has to be distributed as well. And I don't see this as I'm always will be on the side of the individual controls this thing. oh, some company is doing that. Oh, that's fine. But I'm doing my own stuff. Like, and and this is my digital world. This is how I'm designing it. These are my principles. Then this person can find somebody else. Hey, do you share that? It could be, a spouse. It could be a close friend, whatever. When those two get together and work together, they develop a common language, a common set of principles, policies, whatever. Maybe they find a third person and a fourth person. So organically, they develop their own a little culture and ways to work as a group, and all that is also reflected on in their digital world. So there's no intermediate. You don't have to go to through Google to do anything. You just interact with your device using a interface that you set up, right? That you don't have to like, oh, Apple decided to put these buttons over here. Well, no, I don't like that. I want to be something different. So each person, to the level that they can develop their own environment. And that's what I mean by the individual owning their digital life. They actually do it, and that's where the bots come in, and that's where there are no intermediaries that between you and your information. There's nobody behind the scenes changing your data. Like something else important. If somebody has data about you, they can't do anything to you unless you give them permission. Like it's like that's the power of right now we know that data is powerful, but if the individual is the ultimate master, then that's how we kill all these companies trading with information. If the only way that a company can interact with me, even if they have all kinds of information about me, if the only way for them to go into my world is for me to give them permission, I don't care how much data they have about me. It's not about the data.
Except, of course, Ernest, you have already proven you're willing to play Facebook's and YouTube game to get the content they have, right?
Well,
if they still hold the data hostage, then autonomy without access is very lonely, right? The hard part is how do you empower people to engage in collective action such that vendors have to meet people on their terms rather than people having to meet the vendor on the vendor's terms, right?
Well, yes, that's a good question, and that's a very difficult issue. Like right now, I would say it's impossible. Like,
I think Tom has an answer.
So I just want to repeat, you will find that the solid standard, that is its ideal. And they're working hard in making it work. And I think you'll find it does exactly what you need to do as the base, and you could use that as a base and build on it, because it's coming.
Yeah, I think that's So I think that's a fair claim. Is that Tim Berners-Lee, smart guy, cares about these problems. He has come up with a spec which seems to own that problem statement, and he has a 0.9 spec that he believes and Tom believes will solve that problem. I think it's a fair question of, whether it solves that problem, and if so, is that problem actually the same as the one we care about? And this is a great opportunity to see a concrete thing that we can critique, which is awesome.
One question is, if we were to take solid as a base, could we make more real progress faster by asking what do we need to add to it to make these things happen?
Yeah, and I think maybe a good exercise, since we're wrapping up, is Ernest has his 10 principles that I organized into 2 labels last time. I forget exactly what they.
Have I seen these things?
Yes, in fact, you've promised to edit it at least twice.
Oh dear. Send me an email. I will do it.
I will assign. In fact, I will make this the assignment. I will remember to. I will take the action item to send it to you. Is that we had these? Here we go. These are the 10 points here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Right, and I'll do this live on the internet here, so that everyone sees that I did actually follow through my promise to send you an email.
By the way, while you're doing that, I put in the title of the book I'm reading. It's not this year, but it's called Stolen Focus, and it's about the people getting distracted by all these, apps and iPhones and things like that. But it has a lot of interesting ideas. I've only read it about 10%, so I thought I'd mention that.
Make sure I got the right link for solid here. Yeah, solid protocol.
Also, while you're doing that, I know that we are living in the world we are living in. There's, we can't have a solution in the next year, in the next 2 years, the next 20 years. I'm really talking about long-term, for the future of human beings being able to have this control. Like this is work for our kids or our
right.
kids.
But the point is that like whether it's there's 2 different questions are, and it's like before they fully realize this, of course, it's going to take the work of decades or generations. But the question is, can we make any meaningful progress and useful experiments that give them something concrete to build upon?
Yep.
Right?
Yep. With you there.
I think so. February 10th is our next session. And so, Tom, is this a sufficiently concrete homework assignment for you for this email to give you, or is there anything else you need from me?
I haven't seen the email yet, so I don't know.
Oh, sorry, it's not, you're not seeing it on my screen? Oh, sorry, I'm not sharing the right view. Apologize. Let's.
Aha! No wonder I couldn't.
And then let me grab the link to Google Docs so we are all in the same space. Finish the action item during the meeting to make sure everyone's on the same page.
By the way, if I did have a few minutes, I did have a very concrete remark in my comment to Ernest, and I want to repeat it here publicly. You have this wonderful list of problems and solutions towards the end, right?
Yeah, that table is those are the 10 exactly.
Yeah. So I just have a typical Tom way of thinking about it, and that is that that's okay as a starter and a conversation piece, and I love it because it's very multidimensional. But number one, those things need better definition. Number one, a la language, and not necessarily in a blog or anything like that, but somewhere. And the other is that it gives a like one-to-one. That is, this problem is solved by this thing, and of course, it usually is. This problem is one of many problems that has to be solved simultaneously by many of these things simultaneously. So the many-to-many, or the impact estimation table, is sort of missing initially. Now, nobody except I would be missing that yet. They probably love the simplification, but I thought I'd point out that if we're going to do something serious with it, more serious work is needed on that list.
And in fact, Tom, that is precisely the homework that I've been trying to assign you for the last 2 months, and I failed to do so. So I'm going to do it now.
Okay.
Is we have these 10 words that we've agreed on, which are
Yeah.
more or less the same as the 10 there. And I have a very rough definition of those words. And your mission, if you choose to assignment, is to take those 10 things, formalize them to the level you think appropriate, and then use them to evaluate the solid protocol specification.
Consider it done.
All right. And I will email it to myself, and I will ping you periodically
Good.
to make sure that it doesn't drop off our radar. All right. Anything else you need here, or does this look complete and consistent and coherent enough and correct enough?
You like me or to Tom?
I'm looking at Tom.
Oh, sorry, I thought it was.
Check the email.
I'm shaking my head, yes. I'm okay. If I'm not
Right.
okay, you'll hear from me.
All right. Sent. Yay. We have homework assigned. I am happy. Anyway, that was
Okay.
I think that was a great, first of all, congratulations, Ernest, on the blog post. Thank you, Tom, for the solid protocol specification. I think I've heard rumblings about that. But I think I'm actually really excited to see if you can match up what we've been talking about here with what they're doing, and as a bonus, make that a concrete application of PLanguage. I think that'll be fantastic for our next event.
Pretty easy and interesting, yeah.
As a teaser, something I've been working on for the last very low key background process is, you said something about culture and language. And I have this thesis that ChatGPT breaks language, in that we expect language to work a certain way because it's embedded in culture, and because of the way we are conditioned to use language, certain words have great emotional weight. And so when people use a word, we implicitly have to trust that they assign the same emotional weight to those words. And if they don't, we punish them viciously for using those words wrongly. And ChatGPT allows us, it makes it even easier to cheat, even though, spoken language, written language, the printing press, the internet, printing press, radio, TV, the internet, have all made it cheaper and cheaper to use words, which makes certain things easier, certain good behaviors easier, and certain bad behaviors easier. And one can imagine a world where ChatGPT is so, and its descendants are so ubiquitous that it actually destroys the value of written language. Right?
Yeah.
And then this is like, and it raises the interesting question of what comes next. Because you talk about, well, ChatGPT relies on language, but like people already talk about the fact that in a world where because ChatGPT was trained on the internet, right? But if the next generation of the internet is all spewed out by ChatGPT clones, then what do you train on anymore? Because it's Goodhart's law. Once a metric becomes useful, people will game it to the point where it becomes useless. And so I've been thinking a lot, well, what happens beyond language and beyond
Internet of
culture?
Things. First iteration, Internet of Things.
Well, things, right? But the thing is, like, I don't want to be ruled by things, which is the danger, right?
Well, that's
what
what they'll
happens
do
to
to
culture
this-
and community?
That's in my view, because I have been thinking about this too. And remember, I always talk about context. And with Tom's language, he has the glossary. What we need is and this is why people have to coalesce with people who think like them. And it sounds like, being a separatist, but we need that. When people can be honest with each other, within a group, they share a language, they share their definitions, then they can slowly interact with other groups that have different language. They can, work on translation. Okay, so this word means this to you, and to us it means this other thing. So we have to be aware of somebody else's context. Like people have the theory of mind. I know that Tom has a brain, and I kind of imagine what he's thinking. That's how I can communicate with him. We have to elevate that to the community level. A community has to like have a theory of mind of the other community so that they can talk to each other. And we have to like have this, we don't want to fight situation. Right now, people are willing to fight. People love to.
And it's interesting how many of our fights have been about words.
There you go. So,
and I think that's a sign is that, and I think you're really onto something, is contextual languages, right? And creating a substrate that allows us to create these things. So anyway, I will try to have my blog post done by the 10th, and that I can compare that to Tom's analysis and your thinking. And I think we'll have a really fruitful discussion because I think we're actually onto something here. I think there's some really interesting ideas we're all bringing here, and we're getting close to creating some sort of shared artifacts that are tying all these things together, which I think is actually a great prototype of what we think HumanNet is people coming together using digital tools that they control to create a shared culture that allows them to interact with the outside world with greater agency.
Yeah, well, or a tool that can translate cultures.
Right. Right now we have to translate between the three of us. So just doing that is our first data point. Right. It's actually not even translating. It's harmonizing our past languages into one shared contextual language.
Yeah.
And that is a hard problem. It's literally language creation.
There you go. That's why Everlang. Remember Everlang?
Yeah. And I think that we are going to do this once in a really brutally painful way. But once we do it, then we can use that as a building block for figuring out how to do this, better at scale going forward.
Yeah, like how do we talk to French people, German people, Indian people? We have to whatever we come up with has to translate across all those cultures. Maybe we start small, like I said, but we have to think
frankly, that's almost easier than getting, what was the Winston Churchill quote? America and England are two countries separated by a common language. It's because they use the same words to mean different things, or because they understand each other's words, but not each other's context, it actually increases the number of misunderstandings.
Oh, yeah.
So actually, I think that, getting the three of us on the same page is actually not easy, because we're trying to deal with concepts that none of us fully understand, but are emotionally important to all of us. So if we solve that problem, going between languages with common values is actually easier. It's actually the hard part is actually inventing new values and coming up with a shared language for it.
Yes. Yes, correct.
All right.
Yeah.
Great session, everyone. We'll see you on the 10th.
See ya. Bye, guys.